As we read earlier, Luke chapter 6, verse 27 and 28 says, love your enemies, do good to those that hate you. Bless those who curse you, and pray for those who mistreat you. Now that's our first response, isn't it? We've got one honest person here tonight. Thanks. Love your enemies, do good to those that hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who mistreat you. Now, none of us want to be mistreated. None of us want to be hated, if we're honest. And I'm going to share a few things. And if you're the kind of person that takes notes in church, you might want to write these down. And if you're not the kind of person that writes notes, now is a good time to start. Because number one, if God shows you someone that you need to forgive, do it. As simple as that. I remember hearing a story here, way before I was on staff, about a confusion over a room booking here. Now, if you've ever tried to book a room here, you will know that it gets very busy very quickly. And someone had put it in the diary, it was all arranged, and they had their meeting planned, and all the preparations were in place. And then someone else came along and said, I've booked that room tonight. And the person who got all the arrangements done and had done it right said to the people that they were with, let's be the bigger people here. Let's not worry about this. Let's just let it go and we'll find somewhere else to meet and stand up. Could have got very offended. And I remembered that and the choice to be a bigger person. Number two, choose to be the bigger person in situations. Make a choice. Number three is to have a good attitude. Let your life and your walk with God and how you treat others do the talking. I have to say that growing up, I always thought that older people were the best example in my life. Because older people always know better, don't they? I mean, we all know that. They should always be. Because I looked up to everyone and I thought, these are the people I need to follow. But what happens if the person you're looking up to suddenly has an issue with you and doesn't treat you right? I learned that sometimes older people with hurts can walk in less wisdom than younger people. And many years ago, I had someone who didn't treat me quite right because they were jealous that I was involved in a certain area of ministry. And I learnt never to hold on to it too tightly. I said, have it. Because to me, it's just about serving God and doing what we are called to do. Don't be jealous if someone else has something and you want it. If you do want something, make sure that you're prepared to go through what they went through to get to where they are. Because so many times we look at people and we only see where they are today. We don't see the journey that took them to where they are and the preparation. I had someone once say to me, well, hurt people, you know. And you might have heard that. And it's true. Sometimes hurt people can hurt people because they're ministering out of hurt. But this one person used that as an example. Well, I just can't help myself because I'm hurt. Therefore, everyone I come into contact with is hurt as well. But I'd like to say tonight that forgiven people forgive people. And I read a quote once which stayed with me. And it says that God can heal you everywhere that you hurt. And if that's in your body, if it's a physical problem, if it's a inner healing issue, if someone's hurt you, Jesus can heal you everywhere that you hurt. And number 4, and I've only got 104 points, so we won't be too long. Realize that some people may have been put around you by God to develop your character. God is more interested in your character than your comfort. And I should say, we're not going to like all of these points. Is that all right? I should say that up front. But they're all good, so stay with me. I was at a conference once and I stayed with someone, and let's just say I didn't know her that well, but she had a few issues. So much so I moved out that morning and left her sleep in her room, and I thought, no. And I turned up and I said, what do I do now, to this friend of mine? And him and his wife, they looked at me and said, God is more interested in your character than your comfort. I said, thanks very much. That's not really helping me right now. But I knew that God was interested in my character. And some of you might find yourselves in uncomfortable situations. And if you're not there, you'll probably find yourself in one at some point during this year. But realize that some people may have been put around you by God just to develop your character, which is important. And it's important, if something's difficult, don't leave somewhere just because it's difficult. How many times would it be so easy for us to go, well, I just don't need this. I've had enough of that. I'm off. And that's not why I'm going next week, by the way. I should just say that. Don't leave somewhere just because it's difficult. Hang in there until God says so. You know, I said there were someone who had an issue with an area I was involved in ministry. And I thought, I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And I said, God, please do something. Please do something. And nothing happened. And this went on for a couple of years. And then this lady eventually left the church. And then after a matter of weeks, God says, no, I want you to move on somewhere else. And I thought, why couldn't you have done that 2 years ago, Lord? Do you ever find that? Sometimes the timing, because I had to stay there. And unless, obviously, I should say you're in a dangerous situation or an abusive relationship. And that is different. But I had to learn to forgive and pray a blessing even when it was hard. You know, Luke 6:28, what we read, it says, bless those that curse you or say bad stuff. Bless them. Number 5, what does that look like? Go out of your way to bless people. There is nothing that will annoy them more or the devil more if you go out of your way to bless them. Do you know, I learnt this. I heard it from somewhere and I thought, I'm going to try that. I sent people flowers. Now, I like sending flowers, so if you get flowers from me this week, it doesn't mean you've offended me or upset me, okay, or anyone else. But sometimes you can do that. Pray for them. Pray for people. Because, you know, if you bless those that curse you, it will mess with your head in a good way. Because our initial reaction is, you got me, I'm going to get you back. And we are to bless people. Number 6, choose to be better, not bitter. The only difference with those two is the letter I. Deal with the I. Deal with me. It's not all about us. Me, me, me. If something is happening in your life, and someone has wronged you, and we can all be wrong from time to time, things can happen. Can I just ask you, please keep it close to you. Not everyone needs to know. I had a situation once my family knew something had happened, and I hadn't done anything wrong. And I was talking about this person, and a family member said, I thought you two had a falling out. I said, no. I said there were some difficulties, but I kept a door wide open. And it meant that the relationship was restored 100%, and no one else had to know. And it wasn't anything I'd done. It was just a difficult situation.